I'm going to be talking to you, not demonstrating necessarily specifically, but about the pinto beans, the simmered pot of pinto beans. And also there's a second one because we're going to be making. Now, I know that all of you are not busy people. Only me. And I have 5 friends at my house called crock pots. Do you guys like the crock pot? They're not expensive. 2-quarter. This one's 4 quarts. And it was $9. The reason I like them is because I can put things on into the crock pot and I can have them later on. I've even bought myself a timer from the local store that you can actually put your timer on for say like 2 in the morning, and then your still cut oatmeal is ready for you when you wake up and you smell it. The thing that I don't really like, and this is what happened last night, is I had 4 crock pots going of beans. And I smell beans all night. Crock pots are getting really sophisticated. And this one has where you can get either low heat or higher heat. And this one doesn't work so well with those dial ones. So I have several types at home, but I like this 4-quart one because it's good for my husband Jim and I, just the right next day or something to take. So I had to get pinto beans. And sometimes they're hard to find at Kroger, so starting Thursday night I was getting ready. So I went to Walmart and they had an 8-pound bag of pinto beans. And it was cheap. Pinto beans are cheap. Now, the name pinto comes in the Spanish language, meaning painted. You can see the little beans are nicely little painted. I love beans. I'm a rock person too. I like to collect different colored rocks. And beans are just the same way. You can get the cranberry beans. You can get beans that look like Holstein cows, black and white. There's all kinds of beans. But the pinto beans are nice because they are soft and they cook pretty quickly. I don't know what I was thinking, but yesterday I go, oh, I gotta get this chili made. And so I dumped all 8 pounds into my big pot. And today I had 8 crock pot full of chili. So today you have 3 of them here. You better eat all of them because I don't know what I'm gonna do with them. But let's go back to the recipe. The recipe says 1 pound. So 1 pound, this is from Whole Foods, comes in a little bag like this, and down here it says 16 ounces, 1 pound. So I said, well, I couldn't really know how much 1 pound would work out to be, so I bought that one, and I soaked it, and it's about that much bean soaked. So the dry bean is about 2 1/4 cups dry. And it makes 4 1/2 cups soaked, which would be what you would get when you cook the beans. So that would fit in a crock pot like this or in a pot. Now your recipe talks about putting it into a pot and cooking it that way. But like I said, I don't have time to sit and watch a pot cooking beans because in the past I've scorched them. And I find that the crock pot is so easy to do. The reason we like to use pintos is that they're full of nutrients, vitamin D, and also proteins and fibers. They're a great food for diabetic people. It sustains the blood sugar over time. It's great food for people with high cholesterol. There's really good fiber in it. They're just full of things that will make you healthier and live longer. Plus, you don't have to pay a lot of money for them. So we soaked our beans and we stuck them in the crock pot and we cooked them 6 to 8 hours overnight. Now, the recipe over for the vegetarian vegetables talks about adding 2 cups diced winter squash. So that's about 2 cups there. It also talks about adding carrots. So that's about the much carrots that we would put in those beans. They have a different sequence. This morning, I threw this into my crock pot. They're kind of thick, they take a little bit longer, and it was a way to not have to wait in a pot to cook this in with the vegetables. So I threw these 2 things in with the beans as they were almost completely cooked. Let's talk about butternut squash a little bit. Isn't this pretty? This is one way to use butternut squash. In Australia, they call them pumpkins. The Native Americans had these, and the people from South America, Columbus took it to Europe, and they became popular because they're beautiful color, and they taste nutty and sweet, but they also last a long time. They can last up to 6 months. And the reason why we like them at this time of year is this is the time of the year we harvest them. So the ones I used were this size, and a quarter of this one here, so this one and then cut it a quarter was 2 cups. But you can cut it all up and put them into the refrigerator. They last about 2 to 3 days like this. In some of my reading, they said you can even put them raw into salads. I've never tried that, but you could try it. So when you go to the store to try to buy your butternut squash, it's better to get them when they're not so green. You can see little green lines in them. Make sure that the stem is firm and that they're not soft anywhere. That means that I like to get one that is a pretty good color, like a nice nutty brown color. And I hope to, when I open it, find something like this. So you wash it real well. Now, in my reading, I heard that they use these types of squash and other winter squashes to cleanse the soil of pesticides. So they're like a crop that you put in to improve your land. So it was recommended that if you do buy butternut squash, that you buy the organic type, because it tends to absorb whatever in the soil, or if you know what your soil is like, you can just go ahead and use your soil. I've grown these before. One vine maybe has about 3 to 4 of these on them, and you can eat any part of the squash, the blossom, and you can eat the seeds, and I did bring in some seeds when I scraped the middle out, the seeds. I roasted them this morning, so you can try those. They're really high in omega-3s and other cancer preventing phytochemicals, plus fiber, and they're free with the butternut squash that you're making. Now, I've had people say to me, I don't know what in the world to do with a squash. And I had this little... So on my squash that came, there was this sticker that we see on all the different squashes, and it says right on it, cut squash into serving pieces, remove seeds, bake upside down in the oven at 400 for 50 to 60 minutes. So if you don't know what to do with it, it's right on the squash. Okay. So one other thing that I wanted, for those of you who want to save time because you're busy people, you can also use the beans from the can. These are the tri-bean blend from this is from Kroger. And 3 of these cans would make one recipe, because there's about a cup and a third in here. So that would make about your 4 cups for your pinto beans. So we've talked about the different things about squash and about the crock pot and about how to simmer the pintos and cook them. A couple other things on the recipe, the vegetarian chili, that I had to do today. This recipe comes from the New York Times, and Dr. Olivia was at work, and her physician that she works with often brings food for them. And this was a soup recipe that we were looking for to try to share with you. And so that's how we got this recipe, but it was the first time I had really made this particular recipe. So we got the simmered pintos, and then in a separate pan, I chopped the onions, I put in garlic, I used the canned garlic, the jarred garlic, not the roasted ones. And I had some chili. I couldn't decide if this meant chili peppers or if it was the chili mix that you get in a store already mixed. So what I used was a chili mix, but I cut it in half. So the soup that you're going to have tonight is half of this amount of chili powder in it. Because it goes on to roast the cumin seeds and grind them. And I find that if you get too much cumin in the soup, it tastes bitter. And so I didn't want to do that. And since I hadn't tasted it before, I kind of eased back on it. So if you like more tonight, then you know what to do from there on out. They said Mexican oregano. It does taste different than Italian oregano, but I couldn't find it. I haven't gone to Penzeys yet to find it or order it offline. But if you can find it, that would be a good thing to use. And then it says to serve it with cheddar cheese and Monterey Jack cheese. And I bought plant-based cheese for you to try. It's in the bag next to the chili. It's Love Your Heart cheese. I got it from Whole Foods. And it's one of my favorite. Now, like Katrina said, don't go in there and think that it's cheese, but it is a good substitute for it. It does melt, and you can try it tonight. Then you put a little bit of cilantro on top, and you have this delicious, nutrient-dense chili. Why do we care that this chili is vegetable-based or plant-based? Because we want our diet in as high of nutrients as we can get. And we could have just put a water base or something like that in there, but having the butternut squash, the carrots, the red peppers, the onions, the garlic, the other herbs, it adds all those nutrients that you need to a bowl of chili. Now, one other thing I just wanted to mention while Katrina was talking, this recipe for the cashew pimento cheese sauce is an excellent, if you just take that part and put it on the stove for maybe 2 to 3 minutes or in a little crock pot and warm it up, it gets thick. Put a little bit, if you like it a little spicy, put a little salsa in it. It works really great for chips and dip. So you have another thing to do for your holiday parties right here in the recipe that she gave you. Are there any questions? Go ahead.
I have two. How long does it freeze?
Oh, it freezes great.
Okay.
It better freeze great because I know there's 4 crock pots at home. So, yeah, I'll just put it in a container that would fit in there. So then when I want it for that day, I pull it out, I put it into there with a little bit of water and turn it on, maybe low, and then 6 hours later I have a soup that's ready to go.
Okay, and what's the name of the not cheese? The one that's cheese but it's not really cheese?
When you go back there, I put the little the covers for them by them so you can look right on it. And they come in slices too now. They didn't used to, but I actually graded these in my cuisine art, but you can actually get slices for bread and everything with these cheeses. I'm not saying that they're like the best, healthiest, maybe, because they do have some fat in them. But it is nice to have an alternative if you're a serving company and things like that.
Thank you.
To save time, on butternut squash, you can wash it and put it in the oven like you're baking a sweet potato.
Right. I often put mine in the oven. I prefer it that way. And you just put it in there, like I said, it's on the instructions here. You just cut it in half, you dig out the seeds, turn it upside down, leave it in for about an hour, pull it out, and you have a supper. It's really great. Or you can dig it out and put it into soup, whatever you want to do. Or make that nice pumpkin dip that Lonnie made. You can make it from scratch. And you can use butternut for that too. You just have to get it quite smooth before you put it in there. Okay.